Okay, have you ever thought about this? Why would a hero, a rescuer, need to become just like the people they're trying to save? It's a fascinating idea, and we're about to dive into a really dense biblical argument that unpacks that very question, piece by piece. Let's get into it.
So, this is the central puzzle we're tackling. I mean, it almost sounds like the plot of a movie, right? But it's actually the absolute core of a deep theological argument. Why would a savior have to become one of us? Well, the text we're exploring today has a pretty amazing answer.
All right, so section 1 is called A Warning to Heed. Before we even get to the why, the author kicks things off with a really strong warning. You're about to see that the stakes here are incredibly high. The message is about as direct as it gets. Pay, careful, attention. Because the risk of just drifting away from this message is real. This isn't just some casual advice, it's a serious call to lock in and focus on something the author believes is a matter of life and death.
So, the author builds their case with this really clever, lesser to greater kind of argument. They're basically saying, look, if the old message, the one delivered by angels, was a big deal and had serious consequences, then how on earth can we ignore this new message of a great salvation that was delivered by the Lord himself? It's a way of turning up the volume to show us just how important this is.
So, section 2, humanity's great question. Now that we get the sticks, the author zooms way in on our own condition. What is the fundamental problem that needs solving in the first place? I mean, talk about a timeless question. In the huge, vast cosmos, what are we? Why do we even matter? The author pulls this quote straight from the Psalms to really frame the whole problem that they're about to solve. This slide just lays out the central tension perfectly. On one side, you've got humanity's ideal design, crowned with glory and honor, with everything under our feet. But then, there's our actual reality. We are obviously not in control of everything. There's this massive gap between what we were supposed to be and what we actually are.
And that brings us to section 3, the pioneer of salvation. So how do you possibly bridge that gap? Well, the text introduces a solution, and it comes in the form of this key figure with a very specific, very important title.
And here's the first piece of the puzzle. The text points to Jesus as the one who's going to fulfill humanity's original destiny. And how does he start? By being made a little lower than the angels, which is just a beautiful, poetic way of saying he became fully human. He actually joined the group that needed rescuing.
So what does pioneer even mean here? Well, it's not just a leader, it's a trailblazer, someone who forges a brand new path through uncharted territory so that others can follow behind them. And what's really crucial here, this text argues that this new path to glory is, paradoxically, paved with suffering. And this gets right to the heart of the logic. Why become human? To create a shared identity. Suddenly, the rescuer and the rescued are, as the text says, of the same family. This idea of solidarity is everything. The pioneer isn't some distant, unrelatable hero. He's a brother. Okay, section 4, defeating the fear of death. This brings us to the ultimate mission. If becoming human was the how, what was the why? The text argues it was to go head-to-head with a universal enemy of humanity, our fear of death. The logic here is laid out so clearly, step by step. First, you start with the premise, humans are flesh and blood. Okay, so second, Jesus also became flesh and blood. Why? So that third, through his own death, he could break the power of the one who wields death as a weapon. And what's the ultimate goal? The fourth step, to free all of us who have been enslaved our whole lives by that fear. And the author makes this crystal clear. This whole mission wasn't for angels. This was a targeted rescue operation specifically for humanity, for, as the text puts it, Abraham's descendants. So that brings us to our final section, a priest who understands. What's the lasting result of this pioneer blazing a trail through suffering and death? According to the text, it creates a totally new kind of spiritual leader, one who gets it.
The end result, the outcome of this whole journey, is a new role. Because of everything he experienced as a human being, the text says Jesus is now positioned as a merciful and faithful high priest. This isn't some distant, unapproachable figure. This is someone defined by their compassion and their trustworthiness.
And here is where it all comes together. His qualifications for this job come directly from his lived experience. The reason he can help is precisely because he was made fully human and because he himself suffered and was tempted. That shared experience isn't just a minor detail. It's the very foundation of his ability to be a merciful and effective helper.
And that leaves us with a final question to think about. This whole argument we've just walked through is built on this radical idea of solidarity, this concept of a rescuer and the rescued belonging to one family. The text lays out all the theological reasons why this matters, but it leaves us with this thought. What does it mean for us, today, to really live like we're all part of that same family?